Thank you very much, House Chairperson. The political ethos, mantra, and creed of realizing education as a commodity of necessity is firmly dedicated to the young martyrs of the people's struggle, and in particular, House Chairperson, in remembrance that in 10 days' time, on the 6th of April, we will be commemorating the 39th anniversary of the execution of the young man called Comrade Solomon Kalushi Maslangu. Comrade Solomon Maslangu has been instructive that our youth should continue to reap the fruits of the tree which his death has borne. The history of South Africa is one besieged with the most acute social fault lines of having the twin dangers of unemployment and poverty which coexist. We remind our students and our young people that during his State of the Nation address, President Ramaphosa indicated, and I quote, "Our most grave and most pressing challenge is youth unemployment," unquote. Fortunately for these young people, South Africa is a giant social laboratory which has produced multifaceted of successes through the ANC, the People's Movement. The current conjuncture and acumen of our societal leadership, properly represented by President Cyril Ramaphosa, has imbued a conviction in all our young people that the interest and the grievance is of paramount and a necessary consequence to our government. The question of free education has correctly directed a twin impulse of legitimate societal leadership and an active citizenry which feeds our nation. House Chairperson, the question of free education has its roots in a shared prosperity and social justice. The decisive political decision by our President to immediately implement the free higher education for the poor student is part of a historical thesis of transforming and tilting the apartheid state colossus and orientated towards a more humane and just people's project. The singular objective to avail more than 57 billion rand direct money for our free higher education is central to the task of abolishing a major source of social conflict, which is youth unemployment. House Chairperson, a caring government such as the one led by President Ramaphosa would ordinarily use redistributed mechanism of the fiscus to provide a safety net for the poor, and his commitment to our needy students is hugely and commonly known. We have been firmly committed that all needy students of the more than 975,000 enrolled in universities since last year will be funded comprehensively. The optimistic expectation of our people has further necessitated that NSFAS equally so get adequate money to ensure that those families who falls outside of the 350,000 income bracket per year, their children also access equitable education. NSFAS will therefore continue to fund almost 300,000 students, with more than 195 of those returning students and just under 100,000 first-time students. An important incubator of knowledge and skills acquisition is the Tivet College education, which encompasses over 290,000 students, which equally so will be funded by this people's caring government. Radical socio-economic change requires, therefore, an adequate social agency led by a conscious and, more importantly, a pro-poor student steward, as opposed by our President. House Chairperson, we claim no lies, and neither do we claim easy victories. As a testament to people's power, a total of 985,000 students were enrolled in public higher education institutions in 2015. This student enrollment, Honorable Chairperson, increased between 2009 and 2015 by 147,000 students. Properly put, it is an antithesis to freedom, the grave concern about youth unemployment. It cannot be correct, House Chairperson, that 3.1 million young people is outside of employment of educational institutions. The decisive intervention, therefore, by President Ramaphosa today to launch the 1 million Youth Employment Service Program, the YES program, will complement, Honorable House Chair, the existing initiatives of the National Youth Service Program, the Youth Employment Accord, and more importantly, the Youth Wage Subsidy, which lower the cost of employment of our young people. Honorable Chairperson, the more young people graduate, the more it will have a multiplier effect to make poverty poorer. The question that we are posing today in honor of Solomon Mahlangu is to the direct descendants of Hendrik Verwoerd, when he indicated in 1953, Honorable House Chairperson, what is the use to teach an African child mathematics? That is the question that he has posed. Our response as a people's government say that we have increased the number of graduates in science, engineering, and technology in excess of 58,000. In a direct response to Hendrik Verwoerd, we have chartered accountants today, who is 14,000 of them in South Africa, which happens to be black and African. That is our response to the question, Honorable Chairperson, of white superiority that used to live in South Africa. More importantly, Honorable Chairperson, there is a question about the necessary research capability of the South African state. Firstly, let me report today that the number of research master's graduates has increased by 20.4% to 7,317 graduates in 2015. In the same breath, Honorable House Chairperson, our Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, One Honorable Buti Manamela, just last night have added value to being a research master's graduate. Of course, House Chairperson, we will fail to do justice to our people, and in particular those that are located in the Northern Cape and in Mpumalanga, if we don't report to them today the expansion of the university system in terms of the establishment of the Saul Plaatje University in Kimberley and the establishment of the University of Mpumalanga in Bombela, which honorable members today have been able to enroll in Kimberley at Saul Plaatje University, 703 students and 1,261 students at the University of Mpumalanga. On top of that, Honorable Chairperson, we must appreciate the commitment from our government that additional 2.9 billion rand has been made available over the medium-term expenditure framework to phase in the development and the expansion of those institutions. That, Honorable House Chairperson, is telling the truth and not claiming any easy victories. I would fail to correct a statistics that has been put earlier on the basis, Honorable Chairperson, that the central statistics in South Africa, Stats SA, have a statistic that says the value of higher education how it contributes to unemployment. Accordingly, therefore, Honorable House Chairperson, let me quote, according to Stats SA data, for the second quarter of 2017, only 7.4% of graduates were unemployed. This is in contrast to the figure of 27.9% of persons living in South Africa with only a matric qualification. It therefore holds, House Chairperson, that the more you get qualified, the more you will become employed and the less you will be part of the unemployment masses. Honorable House Chairperson, Emil Cabral has been instructive that the biggest struggle is against our own weaknesses. It cannot be correct that in Parliament the biggest struggle is a struggle against a weakness about forgetting. The fact of the matter is, Honorable House Chairperson, that in terms of the global competitive ranking of South Africa, as commissioned by the World Economic Forum, primary school enrollment stands at 97%. Secondary school enrollment stands at 94%. 81,000 new jobs has been created between September 2017 and December 2017. That, Honorable House Chairperson, is what the African National Congress stands for. We stand for more jobs, we stand for restoration of values, we stand for a revival of consciousness, we stand for a resilience of a pro-poor people's agenda. And I present, Honorable House Chairperson, the face of this new dawn to the members in the House. And this is the man, our President, that will lead and continue to lead a resilience of a pro-poor people's agenda. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member.